show you what I know. Break it free from the mainstream, the studio machine. I want it my way. Indie Film Nation. I want it my way. Indie Film Nation. Going all the way. Indie Film Nation. You know it's gotta be Indie Film Nation.
Another edition of Indie Film Nation, and on today's program we're chatting to Mr. Richard Wolstencroft, who isn't a stranger for the program. He's the festival director of the Melbourne Underground Film Festival, and Richard, it's fast approaching festival number 9.
It is indeed. It's only a week away, so you know.
And tell us, what can we expect from this year's edition of the Melbourne Underground Film Festival? Well,
I think it's definitely our best festival. You know, we've really put a few runs on the board. The opening night film, Gates of Hell, is an Australian $1 million feature from Kelly Dolan and David Parker. The closing night film, Tin Can Man, is one of the best films you'll see at any cinema. You know, that's my festival pick. The closing night film, Tin Can Man. I mean, we have an amazing selection of Australian genre movies, which I think, following on from a film like Not Quite Hollywood, I think we need to make a lot more genre films, obviously, and you know, at least begin to emulate that exciting period in Australian cinema. And the results are here at MUF. Acolytes by John Hewitt is highly recommended. The Horseman by Stephen Castriosis. Devil's Gateway, starring Michael Piccarelli, who was in Gates of Hell and also in Gabriel. And there's some other amazing films like Cannibal Suburbia. And I mean, from overseas, we've got a film called Soy Cowboy that was played at Cannes this year, directed by a guy named Thomas Clay. And straight from Toronto, we've got a film called Dead Girl. So, you know, we've got a smorgasbord of films, retrospectives on Marjoe Gortner and the Japanese writer and fascist Yukio Mishima. We've got Mini Muff, Sexy Muff, you know, lots of mayhem. You know, there's about 60, 70 sessions.
Yeah, well, it's a usual MUF fare of,
yes.
Of films, and in particular, you do your usual rant at the start of the catalogue.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people call it a rant, some people call it insightful, but this year you didn't have to use as many strong words as previous year. Do you see some change in the industry, a glimmer, a bit of a spark there?
I do. I mean, you know, I think the industry's basically, when we began MUF, people generally didn't accept, I guess, what we were saying, that the industry was fucked and that, you know, we really needed to desperately do something about it. 8 years later, in 2008, with our 9th festival, it seems like they do agree with that decision, that there's something seriously wrong with the Australian film industry, but they're still not doing anything about it. And I think it's now is the time of critical mass. And I guess even though they mightn't have liked MUF for being a whistleblower, really, for being a festival that says, look, you know, the emperor's wearing no clothes, this industry is terrible, we really need to do something about it. Even though they might not like us for having said that, they can't help maybe respecting us for having had, first of all, the guts to say it. And then, you know, I mean, and all that means, which means you don't get government funding and, you know, for your own projects and also for, you know what I mean, for the festival. So, you know, this is the kind of thing. But I think, you know, I mean, for example, many people commented that MIF this year was attempting to emulate MUF. And I think when we're setting the agenda in the Australian film landscape, I think that's, I mean, for a festival our size, which is only a little rebel film festival, I think we're doing all right.
Yeah, and this year there's been the venues that you're actually playing at. You're back to the George again?
Yeah, you know, we wanted to get back in a cinema. I mean, I guess, you know, MUF's always run in a slightly shambolic style. I mean, often using nightclubs and video projection and stuff, but we wanted to get back in the cinema, have state-of-the-art video projection and also film when we can get it. And also still do, you know, some of the more, you know, better like club screenings. Well, I mean, it's not really a club, Glitch is a cinema. And Noise Bar has an amazing kind of like, you know, 200 seating room like stage and stuff. So similar probably to the Spanish club that we had a few years ago. So we've got 3 great venues. We've normally had 4, but I'm trying to scale it back slightly. But still, we've still got about 60 or 70 sessions. I mean, I keep meaning to scale it back, but I can't help myself. You know?
I suppose one of the interesting things about the festival is its longevity. 9 years. I mean, the history of the festival. I mean, for those that are internationally, it started from an upset Wolstencroft.
Well, yes, and it continues to keep going from an upset Wolstencroft. I think, yeah, I mean, my film Pearls Before Swine was rejected. You know, and this is sort of entered the folklore of Australian film industry. It was rejected from the Melbourne International Film Festival, and then from that, MUF was started. And you often wonder whether it was the right thing to do, but I think now after 8 years and nearly our 9th festival, I think that, it must become more than just a festival. It's become something of a movement, of a different kind of voice in Australian cinema. And, it's long overdue. And as soon as the mainstream begins to embrace it and actually begin to fund some of the most talented filmmakers who have come through MUF, if that can be done, we will soon have a renaissance in Australian cinema. And I mean, if I say, my director's statement that I'm the anti-Philip Adams, all I mean, not necessarily, in the sense I respect Philip Adams for what he did back then, but I think the way he viewed cinema is maybe a bit old hat now, and that, there's a lot more diversity. I mean, you can like your quality art film, but then you can also like your balls to the wall action film, or you can make your, really gritty, underworld crime movie, or you might like your really, gory and violent horror film. And, we want to be making all these different kinds of films and more, sexuality and, really good comedies, like Kenny, obviously, and many others. So there you go.
But it's been around 9 years, and,
yes.
And what do you put down to the longevity of the film festival? Because I think a lot of people don't realise is that it doesn't get any government support.
No.
And what is it that you feel that you've tapped into?
Well, MUF's always actually been a festival that's made money, or at least been able to keep itself afloat. It hasn't always made a considerable profit, but it's always been able to keep itself running. We had government funding, like a very small amount, like $3,000 or $4,000 for like 1 or 2 years, and then we did something to offend them, and that stopped. Every international guest that visits us says in any other country of the world, a festival of this, it's got a really great reputation around the world, MUF. There are not many underground film festivals of repute in the world. There was the New York Underground, Chicago Underground, and probably after that is Melbourne. And New York Underground is now defunct. So now the two greatest are Chicago Underground and MUF. And this is like, we have the second greatest underground film festival in the world in this country, and yet it doesn't receive a ZAC from the government. We keep it going really just from willpower of the team who are involved, and just from as a sheer fuck you, that we're not going to lay down and go away. We're going to continue fighting until the industry changes. And, it's them that's got to change, not us as far as I'm concerned. And we're going to be here until they embrace this exciting new movement in Australian cinema that's going to make money, that's going to revitalise the industry. And from this, there'll be amazing quality filmmakers like Peter Weir, like Bruce Beresford, like George Miller, like Philip Noyce, that will emerge from these exciting genre films, and also really exciting avant-garde works that I think need to be made in this country. And I can tell you right now, 10 or 20 filmmakers who should have their films made immediately for $500,000 or $1 million, and let's get going, let's start making films, let's turn this industry around, and let's stop making rubbish like The Black Balloon and Somersault and 100 other polite coming-of-age films like Homesung Stories, or on and on and on and on. If you've read my critique, what I'm about.
But one of the things that with the screening of a piece of work that's very important to yourself, The Beautiful and the Damned.
Well, yeah.
And can you just briefly talk about at what stage the project's at this stage, and that it is having a screening at MUF?
Yes. Well, it's my new feature. I think, again, that's one thing that's unique about MUF, is that I'm a filmmaker, and that my background is in filmmaking. This is my 4th feature now. My 3rd that I think will be completed. My 2nd feature, The Intruder, that starred Lockie Hume, who's now on the Hollow Man. Was never officially completed. It's only got to work print stage, because I only directed it. It wasn't produced by me. But basically, The Beautiful and Damned is my new feature. I've made it low budget, and it's going to start playing overseas film festivals. But because it is finished literally next week, that I wanted to play it at MUF. And sometimes I get criticised, but for playing my own work in my own festival. But it's I'm a filmmaker, and if I make a film, I'm going to put it in somewhere. It's one of 60 sessions, and if people don't like it, they can go fuck themselves.
But what can we expect from the Beautiful and the Damned?
Sure, okay.
Because
I'll tell you all about it. It's an adaptation of a novel by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which I think F. Scott Fitzgerald is going to be very hip at the moment, because the new David Fincher film is called The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, based on the short story by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and that stars Brad Pitt and Cate Blanchett, and probably going to be up for Academy Awards in whenever they have it, in March next year. I didn't know about that when I was developing this project. I found out about a year and a half ago, around the time I was shooting The Beautiful and Damned. And also I heard that there's another film being made in April they're shooting called The Beautiful and the Damned, which is a biography of F. Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald, starring Keira Knightley and directed by Nick Cassavetes. So I think we're really onto something with this film, which is an adaptation of a 1922 novel, the novel of F. Scott Fitzgerald that he wrote before The Great Gatsby, which is, of course, his most famous work. But what I've done is I've taken it from the 1920s where it was set and moved it to now. So it's not set, you know, with everyone's dressed up and, you know, flappers and yeah, exactly. So we have one scene where everyone gets dressed up in period costumes. This is a bit of a gag. But no, I've said it now, and no one's ever done a modern version of Fitzgerald ever. No short filmmaker, as far as I'm aware of, or definitely no feature filmmaker. Yeah. And so it's really a world first, and I'm really quite proud of it. And I think it'll go on, and because I've made it right on a good budget, I think I can sell it well overseas. And go and make another film pretty soon.
And with this project, did you self-finance or did you beg, borrow, and steal in the tradition of muff filmmaking?
Yeah. I mean, mainly self-financed. I mean, there wasn't really much big bothering and steering, but there's always a bit of that, you know, when you're making a film low budget. I mean, I think I'm lucky through Muff that I have a lot of friends who are really great editors. For example, Bill Mazulis, who edited the film, and he's got a great editing system that I used. I mean, I have a lot of great friends who've advised me on the project and who've lent me cameras, and so I've certainly had maybe some advantages equipment-wise, and I guess through my contacts through Muff. But you can make a film for under $100,000, and achieve a pretty high standard. Obviously, you could always spend more on a film and post, and maybe I will continue to polish this work. But at the moment, I'm in a pretty happy state with it. It's just having a really amazing credit sequence. Done by a friend of mine in Sydney, which I just saw just the other day, which looks incredible. And it'll be playing the first Saturday of the festival at the George.
Well, you're not. Even though you made mention of the fact that you've struck some criticism for screening the film in the festival. You're in fairly acceptable company because Robert Redford's done it himself at Sundance. So it's not
there you go. And Robert Redford also starred in The Great Gatsby, which is another Fitzgerald thing. So
here we go. We're on the Fitzgerald theme. But what else with Muff? Over the years, you've always made sure that you've tried to connect the filmmakers with the budding filmmakers, and you've done Muff Academies. Is there a bit of that again this year?
Definitely. There's the Muff Academy, which is just $10 a day for 3 filmmakers just talking about cinema. I mean, to go to both days, it's only $20, and that's at Noise Bar on the first weekend. I've got people like John Hewitt and Emil Corton-Wilson who made that amazing documentary Bastardy, and done some really amazing shorts. We've got Dean Bertram down from A Night of Horror, and Ivan Borgnino from Spliff Shorts are going to talk about running little short nights and specialised kind of film shorts events. We've got the guys from Into the Shadows documentary, which is a documentary about the state of the industry. They're giving a talk there, and we've got Cal Dolan and David Parker from Gates of Hell, and we've got a censorship forum that I'm taking part of, and so is Paul Elliott and our international guest, John Paddy from the Xavier Hollander documentary. So, it's a packed Muff Academy. Just come along and just, get part of it, make contacts, and, you'll pick up more from these filmmakers about how just to get out there and do it yourself. And, it's sort of like a anti-film school. I mean, we like film schools, but, you can also just go out there and start making your own work. No one can teach you how to make a film, let me tell you that right now. People can inspire you to go on and do things, and I've constantly been inspired throughout my life by some of the people who are at the Muff Academy this year, and hopefully it will inspire other people to get up there and just, start making interesting work beyond the system, and, just be as creative and as risque as you want to be, that's what I say.
And this year's festival, in the past, you've had some controversies with like Tony Comstock's films and other things. Anything that you think you may get a bit of a...
Well, there's always a couple.
Is there something there that...
I don't know if I should say it though. I don't want maybe the RFLC will be watching this. But there's definitely a couple in there. Whether they snap onto them or not remains to be seen. We've submitted our list to the RFLC. We don't know. We imagine a couple of them might be banned. But I'd say though, all in all, as far as Muff goes, it's a more... there's probably less of the shock or, just blatant sexual, films or pornography.
Yep.
Not that we play a lot of that, but we do play occasionally. There's less of that this year than probably any other. But there are a few things in there, but I won't say what they are because maybe they'll fly in under the radar, which is what we like to do.
But has there been a choice? Because I mean, the early versions of the festival had a couple of major hiccups and caused you some quite mainstream publicity for the wrong reasons. Has there been
I was aware that was going to happen with the David Irving thing. But I mean that was planned, really. I mean, probably the size of the publicity I got was not, but I mean, I totally support what I did with that. I mean, a lot of people use that to say, oh, I'm not going to go to that festival because he's supported. I was supporting freedom of speech for David Irving. I was not supporting if you're a believer in freedom of speech, you've got to believe in the freedom of speech for someone who you don't agree with, someone who has opinions that you fucking hate. You know what I mean? So if people can't see that differentiation, they really don't really understand the whole freedom of speech issue, I think.
Yeah, and was there a choice to maybe tone it back, the controversies a bit, or have you with a bit of age matured in the sense of the taste not to go for the cheap shots?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of controversy in MAF. I mean, if anything, I think thematically the festival's as controversial as ever. It's just that the kind of controversy that is often on such an intellectual level, occasionally, I won't say what sections, but that most people just don't understand what I'm saying. So if they did understand, they probably would be upset. But generally, I mean, I guess the more lowbrow shock stuff, there's not as much of it. Though we have a lot of, I guess lowbrow horror stuff and things or whatever, but that doesn't shock people these days, really.
Yeah, it's almost become acceptable now with mainstream films like Hostel and all that.
Yeah, of course.
But with the future of the festival, where do you plan on taking it? Is it still something that you have still got the fire in the belly? Because
definitely.
Number 9
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm going to keep it running as long as it doesn't interfere with my film work, which it hasn't. I'm fully happy that I've been able to make this new film. I'll be travelling with it overseas for most of next year, and then I'll probably plan MUF 10. I've also got a new film I want to make that I've written and it's ready to go, and I'm just seeking some financing for that. And I think I'm in a pretty good place creatively, and I think this industry, we're going to take on the bigger festivals simply by. I mean, we've got something at MUF that's missing from the major festivals like Melbourne International Film Festivals. We have a curating strategy. We have one person, essentially me, you know what I mean, who is curating the whole festival along a sort of a theme, or it's not just a potpourri of. There are ideas behind what we're doing at MUF. I mean, one of them is obviously championing a new voice in local cinema, but there are other ideas, I think, going on in what we do, and I think you can pick them up if you read our catalogues over the years. And, this is what is completely missing from, I think, the Australian film scene. And also, too, we're just getting a lot bigger filmmakers coming to us with their films. Like, we're getting exclusives and things that, I mean, should absolutely be at MIF, and for whether they are clueless or whether they just didn't, whether they weren't able to get them. We're getting an amazing a lot of work. So the idea is to grow MUF and, eventually take on the Melbourne International Film Festival. I mean, we are the future. They are the past, you know. And they might be big and huge now, but give us another 5 or 10 years and we'll be seriously competing with them, you know.
And I know there's been I think through the festival, there's been the release of a number of your films that played in the festival that have struck a DVD release.
We've set up a relationship with Accent Films, and where we recommend titles for them to release. And they've already released a whole stack of films. I mean, I think last year when we did MUF, there was like 6 that were going to be released. Now there's about 20, and I imagine there'll be like 40 next year. So we're definitely interested in moving into further even into DVD distribution and getting a lot of these films that often just only get a MUF screening out there into DVD libraries, and let people know these amazing filmmakers, and that they're not just a pile of Australian cinema is not just a whole series of films that should be played on a Sunday afternoon on the ABC, which is generally the kind of films that we are supposed to like. There's a whole amazing array of voices here in this country, and that the Chardonnay socialists who run things, their time is done, and it's time to clean house and get on with it. And it's happening out beyond the film industry, and it's soon going to be happening, I think, within it. Because I don't know how they can defend themselves anymore when this industry fails. If they were a small business, they would go broke every single year. I mean, stony broke. And then along comes the government to give them the money to give to filmmakers who, first of all, these people making these decisions have no idea. They've never made films, many of these people, and their past decisions have all been failures. Yeah. You know, it's like, I don't know how they justify their existence. And we need to see filmmakers on the boards of these committees. We need to see dynamic people making executive decisions, not boards. I mean, you know, have you ever seen a statue erected to a board or a committee?
No, no.
Only individuals. I mean, you know, I'm a real believer in individual, you know, can make a difference. And there are many exciting individuals in this industry that should be given power and executive decision making. Yeah. And sure, they can be advised by boards, but, you know, they have their place, sure. And committees have their place, but I think decisions should always be left down to dynamic individuals, various hierarchical positions within the industry. And that's why I say I'm the anti-Philip Adams, because I'm proposing this other vitalistic, I guess more entrepreneurial, more right-wing version of the industry, which I think is long over fucking due.
Yeah. Well, Richard, good luck with the festival
Thank you.
again, and I can't wait to check out The Beautiful and the Damned.
Yeah, please.
More of your work.
Look forward to seeing you there.
And everyone get along to the Melbourne Underground Film Festival, and if you can't, then track down some of those DVDs and check them out and send this man and read his blog. Where's your blog?
Idea Fix. Just put that into Google and it will come up. I think it's the first link. That's the name of my blog. And leave comments. And if you don't like what I say, please debate me. There's nothing I enjoy more than a good debate and you know, arguing with people about film.
And the Melbourne
and discussing.
And the Melbourne Underground Film Festival website
is muff.com.au, and the festival starts October 9 to 19, which is coming up very soon. So get to it or check it out online.
All right, and thanks a lot, Richard. Again.
Thank you.
Okay.